The 100th anniversary of the beginning of the First World War and the 75th anniversary of the beginning of World War II. Last month we observed the anniversary of the end of the American Civil War. Peay graduates have played influential roles in every aspect of American history since 1839. But their service in the three conflicts I've just mentioned did much to define the Institute and earn it a prominent place in our country's history. We perhaps were not fully aware of it at the time, but the early 1960s were to prove to be another highly significant time in the history of our nation. Developments in world affairs, in society, in science and technology were bringing about fundamental changes and setting new directions for the future. The conflict in Southeast Asia, the Civil Rights Movement, the Cold War, space exploration, and many other remarkable developments in science and technology saw BMI graduates playing an active and frankly often a leading role in our country. And you, as graduates of the class of 1965, were certainly among those players. In January 1961, 8 months before your arrival at the Institute, President John F. Kennedy succeeded Dwight Eisenhower as the 35th President of the United States, ushering in what seemed at the time a new political era characterized as the New Frontier. And soon after, the Peace Corps was established. The unsuccessful Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba took place, and Freedom Riders began riding buses into the South. In February of 1962, Colonel John H. Glenn Jr. became the first U.S. astronaut to orbit the Earth in the Mercury Atlas Friendship 7. And during that year, James E. Watson, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins received the Nobel Peace Prize for the discovery of the molecular structure of DNA. In the spring of 1962, the United States forces were ordered to Laos, and President Kennedy announced that U.S. advisors in Vietnam would fire if fired upon. In September 1962, as you began your third class year, the U.S. Circuit Court ordered the University of Mississippi to admit African-American student James Meredith. And 1 month later, President Kennedy announced that the Soviet Union was building offensive weapon bases in Cuba and ordered a naval and air quarantine of offensive military equipment. I'm sure you will always remember where you were a year later, on November 22nd, 1963, when President Kennedy was assassinated at the end of the first semester of your second class year. February of 1964 saw the beginning of the British invasion, when the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. And in July, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In March of 1965, the first American combat troops arrived in Vietnam, while 40 men at the University of California, Berkeley, earned their draft cards. And as you were about to graduate, the first anti-Vietnam march, now Teach-In, was held around the Pentagon. September 13, 1961, a Friday, was the day that you matriculated at BMI. It marked the beginning of BMI's 122nd year. And on that day, you began a 5-day new cadet orientation and training period, better known as cadre, the end of which the old Corps returned and you were taken into the red line. Many of you were probably influenced in your expectations of life at BMI by the 1957 movie Mardi Gras starring Pat Boone. Reality was far different. In short order, you had to learn to think, speak, and walk in new ways. You now talk in such terms as CCQ, FEI, SMI, RQ, and many other foreign terms that were in your ever-present rat pocket. Life at BMI was conducted under the watchful eye of Commandant Cadets Colonel Jeffrey G. Smith, BMI class of 1943. All right, be careful. And later by Colonel George H. Simpson, BMI class of 1940. When you arrived, Colonel Smith was in his second year. The superintendent, too, is new.